Hi friends, let's practice a bit of Kundalini yoga this evening to keep us healthy and wise. You don't need props, but you might like to have them. I always like to have a blanket and a shawl or something to cover up with, and sometimes my knees just really appreciate having the boost of the blocks. So we'll come to our comfortable seat and have the hands facing down is usually where I begin to root and ground. You're always welcome to have a soft gaze over tip of nose. Sometimes it's nice to light a candle and have the candle flame to gaze to as a one-pointed meditation even. I like to treat my entire practice really as a moving meditation. And maybe you'd like to begin with Ganesha Mudra. So your left hand makes the shape of letter L, and you take your left hand to your heart center, so your palm faces forward, and the other hand comes in front, the fingers lock, and you have one thumb on top and one thumb on bottom. And then we'll take the knuckles, so you have knuckles on top and knuckles on bottom, and you act as if you could pull your hands apart, but you don't really let that happen. And you're breathing the entire time. This is the Ganesha Mudra for removal of obstacles, for transformation, and for new beginnings. As you act as if you're pulling your hands apart, perhaps you'll feel a nice release in your neck and your shoulder, your upper back even, your underarm area, your heart center area. Maybe you'd like to set an intention for a dear one, for yourself, or for someone you don't even know, something more worldly, someone or something more worldly or earthly. And as you release your grip, we'll bring the hands to the ankles, and perhaps you'll touch base with that intention throughout your practice as we begin a traditional Kundalini warm-up, spinal warm-ups. Most of yoga falls under the umbrella of Hatha or Hatha yoga, and Kundalini is a fun way, I think, to get the energy moving perhaps a bit more quickly. So we'll start with warming up the base of the spine, even though we're moving the entire spine here. You're going to focus, if possible, a little more on the low back. And if there is ever sensation of pain, then we listen to sensation and we stop and we rethink and we readjust, because there's always another way to do something, or there's always another posture to choose from if this one is not correct for you. The listening sometimes is the tricky part. So typically we inhale as we come forward and we exhale as we come back. Your gaze is pretty much forward, straight ahead. And as you feel warmed, if you feel warmed, you can start moving more quickly. You can always slow it down if the quicker movement isn't for you. Typically inhale opens or gives some length. Typically exhale rounds or brings you into a fold a bit. The breathing is done with the mouth closed through the nostrils. Inhale, lengthen the spine, breathe. We always breathe a moment in between exercises. Finding hands to knees as you're ready. I'm going to move clockwise for me as I find waist circles. My navel center, otherwise known as belly button, is going to move in and up as I bring my body around the clock from 12 to 3 to 6 to 9 and back up again. So the idea is we want to give both sides some attention, perhaps thinking of a waxing and a waning moon. And you'll find the circles with your breathing, noticing where your inhale takes you, noticing where your exhale takes you. Next time you come center, pause a moment and let's move counterclockwise. So again, the navel center pulls in and up and guides you in the circles. Your shoulders pretty much stay above the hips. Often in the Kundalini way of yoga, we work with the energy at the base of the spine and we make our way up the spine. Encouraging the energy to rise up through what some of us refer to as the chakras. And next time you come center, pause, and now we'll work with the upper back a bit more. So if you want to even take your middle finger and thumb and press into that upper heart center area, your upper rib cage would press back and your fingers would press down. And then you have your upper back bend on an inhale. And again, the navel center pulls in and up. As you're rounding spine, you're exhaling. As you're lengthening, you're inhaling. And you're moving with your breathing. And you're breathing with your moving. So you're finding your own pace as you move right along. And sometimes, some days, it just makes sense to stay slow and steady. And other days, we pick up the pace a bit as we're ready. Again, usually the mouth is closed and we're breathing through the nose for these exercises. Inhale gives you a long, quiet spine, finding your typical breathing between exercises. And when you're ready, the arms reach long out away from you, the hands come to your shoulders. And if your wrists would prefer, you make fists, but do see that you can keep, if possible, your elbows, wrists, and shoulders pretty much in line. Sometimes the elbows drop, or the thumbs hook the shoulders and the forefingers are in front. We're starting to work a bit more with mid-spine now, so the inhale takes you to one side, the exhale takes you to the other, and you're moving with your breathing and you're breathing with your moving. Again, mouth is closed if possible, breathing through the nostrils. Sometimes I focus on both the inhale and the exhale. Sometimes I focus just on the exhale and let the inhale automatically happen. See what works for you. Bringing it center, releasing the hands, breathing. If you like, you can begin with the shoulder rolls for the next part. Sometimes it's nice to invite the shoulders and the neck and the upper back and the upper heart center area slowly but surely into the shoulder shrugs. So when you're ready, an inhale will lift the shoulders and an exhale will release. If you prefer the rolls, you're welcome to continue with that. And you know we're continuing with our faster paced breathing if possible. Inhale up, exhale down. Releasing the breath, slow, steady breathing returns for a moment, and we'll move to neck rolls, where once again we'll move clockwise. So I'm bringing one ear to one shoulder, and then head moves back behind, other ear comes to the other shoulder, and head moves forward. We return to a slower breath now as you find your neck rolls. And the good Kundalini teachings say that when we do exercises such as this, we're waking the circulation up to the brain. Next time you come center, we'll pause a moment and we'll take it to the other side. So counterclockwise for you, I'll move counterclockwise for me, ear to shoulder, head moves behind, on over to the other side and around. Slower pace now, slower breathing. Taking it easy so it makes sense for you. We may each have a little something different going on in the neck area. And next time you come center, we'll pause a moment, and now let's undo those good legs and give them a shake out in front of us. If you'd like, you can place a roll of blanket under your knees, or blocks, or a pillow under your knees. Sometimes that slight bend is nice for the backs of the legs, moving into the low back even. If you can, flex your feet, and then actually let's point the toes a moment. So flex and point as you're ready, and then take the feet in some circles in one direction and then in the other. And now we'll return to the flexed feet. Can you see them there? And your toes reach toward you. I always like to start with my hands pressing down next to my hips, just to remind everything to lengthen. I also like to start with reaching up in the good old Fingers interlace, palms to sky if you like. When you bow forward, your hands might find some place on your legs, or if it makes sense, fingertips to toe tips. This is the inhale part. The exhale, your elbows bend and you fold a little closer to your legs. If your back lets you know that when you fold it's not happy, bring your hands higher up your legs and see if you can encourage the fold forward to come from your hips rather than from your back. Sometimes we round the back and that doesn't feel so very good. So you really need to become your own teacher here and see what makes sense for you, please. And the inhale lengthens, the exhale bows you forward a bit or a bit more, and you're moving again with that quicker pace as you wish. Releasing, breathing, maybe fingers interlace as you lengthen again, coming up, we'll undo, and when you're ready, we'll bring the legs to a wide seat. So you can do that exactly where you are, or if you want to take more of your mat space up, you can turn to the side, however you feel comfortable. And again, your feet are going to flex and your toes will reach back toward you if you don't mind. And of course, I like to press with hands near the hips just to lengthen the spine, and I like to lift and lengthen. So this is our middle spot with the hands up. And exhale will bring you toward one leg or one set of toes. An inhale will lift you up in the center, and an exhale will take you to the other side, leg or one set of toes, and you're moving with your breathing. And of course, if you feel like your fingers want to touch down on the mat, I think that's fine too. So inhale, middle, exhale one leg, inhale, center, exhale other leg. Move at your own pace with your own breathing, and you're welcome to pick up that pace. Inhale brings you center, exhale bows you forward. I happen to have my block right here, so I might see if lifting it up will give my head permission to settle. My experience is the Kundalini teachings don't use a lot of props, but sometimes us modern yogis like to bring them in. So again, you're either holding your legs or your tippy toes, fingertips, tippy toes. You can use a prop if you like, or not. You can reach forward and breathe. And then the inhale lifts you up, and let's gently bend the legs and bring the soles of feet to a cobbler's pose, where You can hold the ankles or the toes as you like. If you're holding toes, you might lift them. If you're holding ankles, you'll see what makes sense for you. It switches for me. And then as you're ready, we're going to come to sit on our heels for kriya, or a set of postures, now that we've done our warm-up, for disease resistance. So if you would like a little prop, sometimes the block in between the heels, not in between the low legs, but the feet and the heels, can give you a nice boost, especially if your knees are wanting. You may not need or want, so no worries. You can always build higher if you have another blanket or pillow or block nearby, or you can build lower, or maybe you're simply seated on your heels. So the first part pumps, your navel center is going to pump back toward your spine, and your breathing is we'll start with an inhale, followed by an exhale. Take an inhale, and then we're going to hold the breath while we pump the belly. If you need to breathe, breathe. This is not about seeing who can hold their breath the longest. It's about working in increments. You may notice changes as you come back to this practice. And this kriya for disease resistance, works a lot with this belly area, because this is said to be the seat of our physical health. So your hands could come in front of you, your thumbs can hook, all the fingers are together, or your hands can come above you, and I have my upper arms near my ears. Just notice where your head is, please, and if it moved very far forward, bring your ears in line with your upper arms. Slow, steady inhale. Slow, steady exhale. Slow, steady inhale. Pausing breath, pumping belly. Breathing when it comes to you. When you're ready, we're going to pause or hold the breath again, but after the inhale, please, not after the exhale. Releasing, breathing. Moving on to our bear grip, similar to Ganesha Mudra. Your left hand makes the letter L. That's the hand that comes up first in front of heart center. Other hand comes in front, your fingers hook. This time we'll keep thumb on top and thumb on bottom. Notice if your hands have moved up in front of your throat or your chin, and bring them back in front of your heart center, please. We'll work with the breath again. First, we'll inhale. Second, we'll exhale. Third, we'll inhale. And then we'll hold the breath. While we're holding the breath, the directions say apply maximum force, as if you're really going to pull those hands apart. And then when you breathe, the grip becomes a little lighter, and we'll begin again after the inhale is when we're holding breath, not after exhale. Let's begin breathing when you're ready. Inhale, and then we'll hold. Apply maximum force, as if you're really going to pull those hands apart, but don't let it happen. Breathe. When it comes to you, grip releases a bit. One more round after inhale. Breathe when it comes to you. Releasing the hands, moving to part 3, the forward folds. If you would like, you could place a blanket in front of you. You don't need to. Sometimes the pace picks up, and I just want to be sure that your forehead, if it does start to touch the ground, has a soft place to land. That may not be a concern for you. You may do this seated on your heels. If you feel that you need to adjust and sit a different way, make it happen. Improvise, and perhaps you feel the heat rising already. So this time the fingers will interlace, not behind the head, but behind the neck. So maybe at the hairline there. The inhale lifts you. The exhale bows you forward. Sometimes it's nice to do this with a faster paced, of course I would prefer some kind of Kundalini mantra music to help keep you going. And if you're looking for music, feel free to reach out and I'll give you some suggestions. Inhale lifts, exhale lowers. Inhale lifts, exhale releases hands. The more you practice this, if you want to continue with more of your forward folds, you're welcome to increase the number that you do. The numbers I usually work with are 36, 72, 108. It's just the way my mind works with classical yoga numbers. Some folks will tell you to work toward 1 minute or 2 minutes or 3 minutes. If you have more questions, you can touch base with me and we can set up what you might be more comfortable with. But trust yourself really to do what makes sense for you in the time you're setting aside for your practice. So we're undoing those legs again. You might give them a good stretch after sitting on the heels for a bit. And you did this in your warm-up, leg stretches, finding length, bowing forward. The elbows bend if possible as you bend at your hips, not your middle back, not your head. Inhale, lengthens, breathing, releasing, returning to a cross-legged position. To prop or not is up to you. If you're more comfortable in a cobbler's pose, I say that works too. Neck rolls, here we are working with the opening the pathways to the brain, moving clockwise. As you're ready, one ear to one shoulder head moves behind, other ear to other shoulder, head moves forward. So this set or kriya is pretty obvious. How we're working, we started at the base of the spine, we made our way up the spine, and now here we are in the neck, the cervical spine. Working with the energy centers that run up and down the spine, the 7 main energy centers that we refer to in yoga, often referred to as chakras. The first having to do with rooting and grounding us at our seat. The second moving up closer to navel center, in and around that area, our personal power, where we go with the flow, we become creative, we remember to have fun in the middle of it all. The third chakra, the center of our power, our solar plexus, remembering we are solar powered beings, our physical health. The fourth chakra, our heart center, opening up the highways of communication with love, to our throat chakra, where we find our voice, we speak our truth, we remember balance and listening. And next time your head comes center, pause a moment, and we'll take the other ear to the other side, moving counterclockwise. Now the sixth chakra, the place between and up a bit at the eyebrows, for remembering our intuition, for seeking our deep inner wisdom, following our instincts. And next time you come center, we'll pause a moment and we'll move to table pose. If you would like to take a moment to give your knees an extra cushion, go right ahead and find your towel or your blanket you may or may not need or want. And the knees will be maybe a little closer than hips width for this one. If you can, tops of feet down and toenails down. The wrists in front of shoulders or in line with shoulders. You'll see what works for you here. The fingers spread wide. And this time, as we move into a bit of cat-cow movement, we're going to keep our gaze toward our thumbs. So instead of looking forward in the cow or even up, I'm keeping my gaze down. And then instead of gazing back to my knees or my belly button in the cat, I'm keeping my gaze a little more forward to my thumbs. So we're working a bit differently with cervical spine. And typically it's the exhale that brings us through to the cat and the inhale that brings us through to the cow. If you can, you're starting at your tail, moving your way through low back, mid back, and then a bit of the upper back. And again, starting at your tail, lumbar spine, thoracic spine, a bit of the cervical spine. And as you feel warmed, as the spine feels warmed, much of yoga is about keeping the spine healthy. You can start moving faster and breathing faster, because especially in our kriyas, we want our breath typically to match our moving and our moving to match our breathing. releasing breath, slow, steady breathing. Lengthens the spine, and we return to a seat on the heels, which you can prop if you'd like. Aha, my knee has been healing, so I'm going to give it a try seated on my heels without the block for a moment. I may change my mind quickly. We'll see what happens. One shoulder goes up while the other is down, and then you switch. Other shoulder up, other down. You're inhaling, you're exhaling. Inhaling, exhaling. Inhaling, exhaling, moving with your breathing. Releasing, and we've made it to the moment where we take yogic rest. So sometimes when we practice, my experience anyway has been more classically, the rest might come not at the very end, but maybe in the middle or maybe near the end. So if you want to cover up with any layers, you can come on down one hand at a time, one vertebra at a time, one arm at a time. Promise me you have safe space behind you, and we'll make our way down to rest. And you're welcome if you're near a wall and you want to get those legs up the wall. That's more of a restorative rest. Traditionally, we've rested on our backs, but if you just feel more comfortable resting on your side or on your belly, please do that. This is about rest, not being uncomfortable, but rest being welcoming. So give yourself what you need. Sometimes a little cushion under the knees or a little cushion under the neck can be helpful as well. And we'll give the body permission to release the toes, the fingers, the ankles, the wrists, the knees, the elbows, the hips, the jawbone. Your tongue may rest gently in the roof of your mouth. You might even guide the tip of your tongue to press behind at the top of your two front teeth. And this gives the message to the jawbones to stay apart, so the teeth stay apart. And as you're ready, you can begin to awaken through fingertips and toe tips, through ankles and wrists, through a nice big stretch. If you're wanting to rest longer, you're welcome to pause the video and join us when you're ready. Maybe a little rocking and rolling. You might even give yourself a bit of a spinal twist before you come up as we released down differently. I have knees together, feet together, arms out like the top of letter T, as we like to say, head in the middle, gazing up to ceiling. And then you can switch it and take it to the other side. And often as we give the back attention, we're also giving front body attention, and that's a good balance, right? And then bringing that center, you can rock and roll on up to your seat, and we'll make our way into the last two postures of the kriya or the set. So we'll make our way to a down dog as you're ready. You can always take a puppy dog with your knees down, your forearms down. Sometimes we even bring the forehead down in the puppy dog. If you're practicing the downward facing dog, you're welcome to pedal it out, to walk it out. If you like to give the backs of legs a little more attention. Or eventually you'll press both heels down toward the mat and both hips back toward the wall behind you. Down dog is good for releasing pent up energy. And then we'll walk the feet to the hands, and sometimes the hands make their way back to the feet, and we'll bring the hands to the ankles for some ankle walking, or if you're in the mood for celebrating Halloween, maybe you'll do some dinosaur or monster walking. So ankle walking, your hands act as if they're in control of your feet. Your hands are lifting your feet. This is good for elimination. This is good for your low back. You can walk around your mat. You can take the walk a little further. You can laugh. It's kind of funny. And when you've had enough of ankle walking, you can find a half fold for a moment and give your spine some length. And then we'll take it down to the mat. And perhaps you'll have that candle nearby, focusing on a bright light as you wish. Maybe the hands reaching open. If you'd like to close the eyes, you can give yourself a moment of focusing on that sixth chakra, the place in between the eyebrows and up a bit, maybe drawing the eyes in and up and imagining a bright Diwali or Deepavali light to focus on. If you'd like, the mudra for releasing pain is the index finger bows in, the thumb holds it down, and the other three fingers are out. Breathing here. Finding your breath. Bringing hands to heart-centered mudra. We'll close with the sounds for Ma Lakshmi. May she bless you and yours and your home as we all begin the season of welcoming the light to guide the way. The first festival of lights that I'm aware of. I'm sure there are others, and of course we know more are to come, with holidays approaching, each of us finding a way to celebrate a festival of light. Happy Diwali, happy Deepavali. Om Shrim Mahalakshmiye Swaha. as you wish after inhale. Om Shri Mahalakshmi Swaha. 2 more. Om Shri Mahalakshmi Swaha. 1 more. Om Shri Mahalakshmi Swaha. May an abundance of love, health, and peace, and whichever else it is you're wishing for surround you and your dear ones. Thank you for sharing your practice. If you'd like your very own practice, be in touch. We can set something up for a private here at the studio. Of course, you're welcome to come to any of our classes, our drop-in now. And if you'd like your own video, be in touch. Take good care.